this example of Abel offering unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. You ever ask yourself the question, if you had to choose between the two boys, which one you'd want to be? Nobody wants to be the murdered, right? I'm not saying I'd want to be Cain, but you ever ask, okay, we're going to play Cain and Abel. Yeah, here you are kids, right? We're going to play Cain, we're going to play Abel. One gets to rise up in the field and slay his brother. Who wants to stand in the field and be slain? You ever think about that? I do. I got one of those weird minds, you know, think about things sometimes. I mean, I don't want to be Abel, right? But I do. In other words, I don't want to be Cain. I don't want to be a murderer, but I don't want to be the one that's helplessly standing by while his brother kills him. But the Bible says Abel obtained a good report. He offered a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. And the Bible says ultimately that by which he obtained witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts, and by it he being dead yet speaketh. Literally this evening, Abel is saying to you, take the faith route. Take the faith road. Believe God, obey God. We can look at the example, the story of Cain and Abel. We can look at the logic of both. Abel was one who raised animals. He raised sheep. He raised cattle. Cain was one who tilled the land. And so he raised plants and vegetables. He was the first vegetarian. That's why he turned him into a murderer, I think. I said I think there. Vegetarians don't eat meat, but they sure can kill. So, anyway. All right. Well, too bad. All right. Thank you, Brother Ray. Thanks for being here tonight. Catching a joke. All right. Anyway, Cain tilled the land, tilled the ground. Abel brought the sacrifice to God. You could say, well, Abel brought what he had and Cain brought what he had, but that wasn't the truth at all. Abel brought what God required and Cain brought what he wanted to bring God. Abel's sacrifice was one of obedience. Not many people touch on this, but it's important for us to understand that in no time, in no generation, has death and the shedding of blood been a joyful thing for any normal human being. The idea that because Abel raised sheep, he took some kind of pleasure or natural delight in ending its life and shedding its blood is beyond nonsensical. I would say to you it would be far easier for Cain to shed an animal's blood than it was for Abel. Try raising an animal sometime and then try to slaughter it. It's a lot easier to run over somebody else's dog, I'll submit to you, right, Charlie? Yeah, Charlie didn't run over anybody's dog. He dodged the dog today because it would have hurt his car. That's Charlie's story. You can ask about it. Anyway, it's your day, Charlie. It's easier to offer a sacrifice if you till the land, I believe, than it is if you actually raise the animals yourself. The idea that Abel just, it was easiest for him to offer that sacrifice because he happened to raise sheep and had one is nonsense. And the idea as well that a man who is just like Abel would not have made some kind of a barter with his brother for what he needed to sacrifice is also nonsense. And the idea further that a man who tilled the land couldn't raise an animal for sacrifice is also silly. The fact of the matter is the reason Cain did not offer a sacrifice was because he lacked faith. And the reason Abel did offer a sacrifice was that he had faith even though it required a great deal. In other words, faith is always carried out by obedience. If you believe something, you'll obey it. You'll obey even though it's not carried out yet. And Abel slew his animal, slew his lamb, offered it for a sacrifice because he had faith. And Cain refused to do that and brought God a sacrifice that wasn't what God asked for, that wasn't a picture of Jesus Christ, that wasn't a picture of redemption, because he did not have faith. And he exercised disobedience. And the difference this evening is that we're remembering what Abel did this evening. It's a testimony to us for obedience.